guys, I'm Sarah Louise. Welcome to my channel. So I just wanted to jump on and talk about this petition to call a general election in the UK that is currently going viral. Now, I found this petition at about 100,000 or something, and I did sign it. I'm an outlier because actually I'm in London, which is one of the areas in the UK that's had the lowest amount of signatures, but we are there. We do exist. At the moment, I don't think it really means that much, even though it's going crazy fast. I think in the space of about 2 days, it's already well over 2 million now. It's probably going to get to 3 million by the end of the day, or who knows how high this thing can go, right? It's going very, very fast. But I think something like 9.7 million people voted for Labour, for Keir Starmer. I think it's around that number. It's around 9 to 10 million. So in my opinion, until it reaches 10 million, which I actually do think it has the potential to reach, it doesn't really mean that much, because obviously at the moment it could just look like people that never wanted them in anyway are signing it. But once it gets to 10 million and you've actually got more people signing it than wanted them in power, then I think it means something, right? It starts to mean actually people are really, really disappointed with this. And it's not just people that didn't vote for them. It's actually a lot of people are disappointed. So this was a bit of a different election, because normally I do believe in democracy, but I think this was a little bit of a different election that we had in the UK, because it was the lowest turnout we ever had. So a lot of people simply either voted for Labour or didn't vote at all because they really didn't like any of the options. It wasn't that there was some massive energy behind Keir Starmer. So, for example, in America, there really is a huge energy behind Trump. There's quite a huge energy really around both of them, right? So whoever won really won because they had the backing of a lot of people. And okay, that's going to be really unpopular with the people that didn't vote for them, but they still had the backing of a lot of people. Whereas this election for us was very, very different, because nobody really wanted Keir Starmer to get in. A few, but it was a very, very, very small amount of people. Hence why we had record low turnouts of voting, because people just literally didn't want any of them. They really couldn't even vote because they just didn't want any of the options. So it was almost a protest in not voting, is how a lot of people saw it. So you've got to remember, this is a very, very different election for us. It's not like people are trying to overturn an incredibly popular vote. It's like people just didn't know who to vote for. They hated them all equally. They couldn't give our Conservative Party another chance because they had been so hopeless for so long. A lot of people didn't really have the guts to vote for Reform because they're a new party and they've never led before. So it literally gave people, a lot of people felt they had no choice but to either not vote or to give Labour a chance. So we have a lot of people that really didn't want to vote for him, but just thought, well, we're going to give him a chance because we hate all the others so much. Let's just give him a chance, or let's just abstain from voting because we just don't know who to vote for. So this is why I think it's a little bit different to sign a petition like this than, say, in America, where it's very obvious up front that a lot of people don't like Trump, but enough people love Trump or really are behind Trump that when he wins, the others really actually do just have to suck it up a bit. Whereas in the UK, we just have a different situation. There was no massive backing behind Keir Starmer. It was really just, who's the lesser of the evils? And another thing we have in the UK is that Keir Starmer lied multiple times about multiple things. They made promises and then went back on them. And I think this is something that, people should be able to petition, basically, and actually have it looked at and seen. If you go to the shop and you buy something and it comes with a list of promises that thing does and it doesn't work, you want a refund, right? So if you were literally lied to, the people that actually voted for Labour because of what they said, and now they feel lied to, I think they're definitely within their rights to want another, to want to reconsider that and maybe make a different choice, or maybe even switch the leader who is fronting the party, which we saw multiple times happen in the Conservative Party. So anyway, is it going to make any difference? Well, not at the moment, right? Because the amount of people that have signed it, like I said, is less than voted for them. So it's easy for him to just write it off and say these are people that didn't ever want me in, and they just can't accept democracy. And that's a fair enough angle to have, right? And that's what I'm saying, is that it needs to reach an amount of people that is more than voted him in, because then it means a lot more. And even in that situation, I don't think there's anything legal that means that he has to listen to this petition and actually do anything. But I still think it's really, really worth signing, because I see it more as a movement. I see this petition as a movement of people joining together and saying we're all miserable. We don't like the way that the leadership is going in this country, and we want to see a radical change and a radical reform. And we're showing our solidarity together, that we're all as miserable as one another. And at the last election, we were all miserable too. And that's why hardly anybody voted, was because they were already sort of protesting in a way and showing their dissatisfaction by not voting. And now everyone's joining up again and saying we're showing our dissatisfaction again by turning up and signing this petition. And there is power in numbers. And I think when people realise that a lot of people feel the same as them, and they're not an island and they're not alone, it kind of gives some power to the movement. And I think really what people in the UK are calling for, in my opinion, is they want a complete radical change. And from the outside, it looks like perhaps people wanted to give the left or Keir Starmer or Labour a chance. But from being in the UK, that's not really what was happening. People were just sick of all politicians. They were sick of being lied to. They were sick of budgets that they didn't want, things being funded that have the general public are just not interested in. They were sick of money being wasted. They were sick of money being spent in areas that they didn't feel helped the British people. And I honestly believe that even Keir Starmer and Labour getting in was the beginning of the pushback from the British people, saying we're not interested in any of you people. We don't like any of the options, so we're not going to vote. Unfortunately, what that did was it let Labour and Keir Starmer in. And I think what's now happening is people are like, oh my gosh, this is even worse than what we had before. And maybe there's a little bit of buyer's remorse that maybe we should have voted, or maybe we should have actually gone for something that at least isn't this bad. So I think this is why you're seeing this petition pushback. But really the whole reason that we're where we are now is because people are British people are generally very dissatisfied with politicians. They're dissatisfied with the two uni parties. They don't want either of them. And that is why we've ended up here. And to me, this petition is a continuation of that feeling that we want something different. We want something completely different, and we want to be listened to. And I think it's a sort of long game, because obviously what really happened initially by doing that was Labour getting in, right? And people being even more dissatisfied. But I actually do see it as a shift, a radical shift of people in this country being sick of the offerings of politicians that they're getting, and being sick of the way we're being led and not listened to. And yes, okay, in the short term, that dissatisfaction and that kind of beginning of the protest almost did lead to a probably even worse scenario of somebody getting in that people are really, really dissatisfied with. But I can actually see how this is playing out in a positive way, because it is starting. There is a movement starting that is showing that we're just dissatisfied generally with politicians and our leaders, and with the general public not being listened to. And I do think this is a long game, and it's going to actually work in our favour eventually. I just think we're in that process right now of it all playing out. And I think that it will eventually lead to something better. And it's a very British thing, isn't it, to sign a petition as protest. But, we're just getting our voices heard, and I think they are being heard. And I think once this petition reaches 10 million, and I do think it will, maybe it won't, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think it will reach 10 million. It carries quite a lot of weight at that point. It carries a message a message that we are dissatisfied and we want change. And I think it's the start of change. But anyway, that's just my opinion. So I think it's worth signing. I think if this petition goes to epic proportions, number-wise, it will be seen, it will be looked at, it will start a conversation. It might not be legally upholding that he has to bring a general election into play, but it will create conversation and it will create a movement. And I think that's powerful. So I think it's important to sign it. If you are not happy with the way right now that we're being led and you feel you've been lied to, I think it's great to sign it and just get your voice be heard, right? And that's my personal opinion on this petition. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. All right, bye-bye.